I'd like to welcome you all to Sunday service. I'd like to especially welcome our guests at the Expanding Light and all of you. My name is Ananta. This is my wife Maria. We're glad you could join us today. And our topic is deeds versus intentions. This is from Rays of the One Light, parallel passages from the Bible and the Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ emphasized repeatedly the spirit, not the letter of the law. In chapter 5 of the Gospel of St. Matthew, he speaks of the sin of killing and of the legal punishment attendant on that sin, but says that more important than the act is the desire to kill or to do harm. He shows that the sin of harmful desire goes beyond merely wanting to kill. Quote, "My message to you," he said, "is this. Whoever is angry with his brother without cause already stands condemned. Whoever contemptuously calls his brother a fool shall answer for it to the Supreme Council. And whoever calls his brother an outcast of God shall be in danger of hell fire." Brother here means any other human being. For all of us, in the highest sense, are brothers and sisters, children of our one Father, Mother, God. The true self of one is the self of all. To hurt another is, even if one doesn't realize it, to hurt oneself. Swami Kriyananda in The Path recalls an episode in which the master, Paramahansa Yogananda, revealed his sense of identity even with the plants. One day, Kriyananda wrote, we were moving a delicate but rather heavy tropical plant into position on the hillside. Our handling, evidently, was too rough, for Master cried out, "Be careful what you are doing. Can't you feel? It's alive." To wish death to anyone, to wish even harm to another creature, is to deny in oneself the reality of that divine life of which all of us are manifestations. It is, in short, to deny the eternal truth proclaimed by the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter. This self is never born, nor does it perish. Once existing, it cannot ever cease to be. It is birthless, eternal, changeless, ever itself. It is not slain when the body is slain. Thus, through the Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
I'd like to read from Yogananda's Whispers from Eternity. Teach me to feel that all men are my brothers. O our own one Father, teach me to feel that all men are my brothers. Teach me to love all countries as brother nations to my own, as much so as the land to which I am temporarily assigned by karmic law. Teach me above all to love those who love me not. Teach me to see thy presence in every erring brother. Teach me to heal, as eagerly as I would be healed myself, those brothers who are steeped in ignorance. O Mother Divine, teach me never to rejoice in the segregation or punishment of an erring brother, even if he needs to be punished, to protect from his tyranny those who otherwise are defenseless. Teach me to heal with kindness those who are misled, or let me correct them by my good example. Teach me to feel that even someone who does me mortal injury is my brother, made in thy image. His ignorance is only temporary. Destroy in me every trace of vengefulness, including the quick tit-for-tat spirit. Teach me to try to heal, not to punish, my brothers who resort to crime. Let me not increase their ignorance by a wrong spirit of revenge. Teach me to improve all men by my own example of forgiveness, self-control, determination to do what is right, wisdom, encouragement toward goodness, and prayer, and above all, by thy love. I'd like to welcome you as well all this morning. The title this morning is Deeds versus Intentions. And one could approach this from a lot of different angles. It's always interesting to me, the one that Swamiji has focused on in this reading, that of ahimsa, of non-violence. It's a very broad topic, and Jesus' words are very strong. It's a little, you read it, and it's pretty powerful. He lays out pretty clearly the consequences of being violent in some aspect of our nature, of being disharmonious, very, very strongly. But he picks it up by the thread of unity. He picks it up by the thread of our oneness with everyone. Paramhansa Yogananda used to love to use the example of a gas burner, and you have all those little individual jets of flame that are bright and individual and strong and light, and that represents all of us. But where those individual little flames is coming from is from that one underlying flame of gas that is feeding that burner. And so it is that we live these unique and seemingly individual and separate lives, but we are never disconnected from one another. We are never disconnected from all of creation, even unto the plant, as highlighted in the reading. Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. And on a deeper meaning, that those very words mean love thy neighbor, he is thyself. If we use the example of, it's easy to look at ahimsa, nonviolence, and put it in the context of killing, not killing. And we see an individual who commits a criminal act, they're tried for that, they're sentenced to death, perhaps executed or hung, depending on what part of the world they live in, or maybe imprisoned for their life. And it's easy to point to that act and say this is an evil, adharmic thing. And then you see another individual who kills many people in defense of their country, in defense of their home, in defense of their family. And this person we call, in most circumstances, a hero. But it's not that clear, and it's why Jesus, through this reading, is being so complete and so strong to get us to look to the subtlety of it. We're aspiring yogis. We are yogis. We're true seekers, whether on this path or some other path. And so we've claimed a lifestyle and a consciousness that is complete and whole, and its very essence is rooted in the oneness of humankind, the oneness of creation. So in that realm, thought becomes action, and we have to look closely at that. We have to look inwardly at that and really listen for those signals that are pointing us toward the refinement of action in really the fullest sense of the word. When we look at what actions do to us, Yogananda showed us this. He was sitting at the feet of his guru, Sri Yukteswar, who was expounding some deep and subtle aspect of the teachings, to be sure. And Yogananda said he all of a sudden, his attention was distracted, and he felt this hypodermic needle of the mosquito drilling into his thigh. And he just couldn't hold his attention, concentrated any longer. And he raised his hand, just about to swat it, and he stops. And Yukteswar goes, "What are you doing?" And it had occurred to Yogananda, he remembered Patanjali's words, the importance of ahimsa, of nonviolence, of not taking a life. And he answered Yukteswar, well, would you have me transgress Patanjali's advice to practice nonviolence and not take the life of this mosquito? And Yukteswar said, you were going to kill it. Just finish the job. It was in your mind. You may as well finish, he said. And Yogananda understood, and we all understood through that, the subtlety on which we need to practice nonviolence, the subtlety in which the subtle level on which we have to really look towards our thought, our feelings, our being, and make sure that we are indeed harmonious. When we look at what inharmonious actions do to us, we realize it's we who suffer. When we're angry at something, that anger is there, and we can express or give out that anger, and whatever happens, whatever ripples out, or we can hold that anger at bay. But if we do that, and if we don't transmute that or transcend that feeling, that emotion, it can escalate, it can pop out, come out and play out in a very sometimes big way. And if we relegate it to the closet and sort of shove it off to the side, or so we think, as yogis, it lodges in the spine and it waits. It waits to be for that water, that abundance of spring water. It waits for the sunshine. If it ever comes out, it waits for the soil to be tilled, and that seed that was there dormant, doing seemingly nothing, unknown to our consciousness on every level, sprouts with vigor. And it becomes this huge plant with vigor. And it becomes this powerful bloom. And there it goes. And it comes forth. And so many levels we need to look into that. I remember when I was very new to the path. And someone wrote me a letter and proceeded to tell me things that were wrong with me and things that I needed to change in myself. And don't marvel at this. It was a great blessing. This is truly a divine friend. These things needed to be said, and they expressed tremendous courage to be an instrument for God in that way. And but I wasn't thinking that way at the time. and I was a little. It bowled me over for one, but I was just trying to find some line of defense, And it was a difficult situation for me, and a mutual friend helped us, was trying to help us to work through this. But help came also in an interesting way, and if not totally right, I at least expected the playing field to be about even. But this person, from my point of view, just put it all on me. My friend put it all on me and said, you need to do this, and you need to say this, and you need to apologize for this, and you need to change this. And I just thought, I just was reeling. I just walked away reeling. And some part of me clearly thought I was right, if not totally right. And but I sat with it, and I realized, and this is why I was just so grateful, that we don't have to be right. It's not even worth it to be right. It's not worth it to be right unless true principles are at stake. Who cares about being right? And what needs to happen is that we somehow find through life's lessons a way, seize the opportunity to be cooperative, to be harmonious, to see this other individual, this other situation, and to just be willing to bow at the feet of the Guru who has sent this person into our life to return the love, no matter how it comes to us, that has come to us through an individual, a circumstance, and to look for cooperation, to look for harmony, to look for a way to rework it so it can be harmonious, so that we can be harmonious. Because as I said earlier, in the end, it's just we ourselves who are hurt. I was listening to an interview of Swamiji's the other day, a wonderful interview, a long interview, so he could really go into quite a number of points. And this person was asking him, had wonderful questions, and was asking him about life in spiritual community. How do you live with people? How do you work with them? What is it like? How do you What does it mean to serve others? Just all of these questions. And Swamiji started to address a number of those, and very, very deeply. I don't think this man had ever really heard anyone quite speak in this way. I don't think his audience had. And then at a certain point, the interviewer interjected and he said, "It sounds like you are living a very godlike life." And he was totally sincere, but you know, those of you who know Swamiji, you know, he's sincere and he's very humble. And he started to just chuckle, and he wasn't laughing at this man, but he was, and then the laughter just started to build, and he just said, "You know, I do this for selfish reasons," he said, because from the point of view that inharmonious action brings hurt to ourselves. And he said, "I feel better when I give love. I feel better when I serve other people. I feel better when I try to honor their reality and really attune to it. And that's why I live this way. This is the only way to live." And he told of a dream he had had sometime in the last year, and in this dream he saw so many people of many different walks of life, of many different lifestyles, and he saw in all of them that thread of unity, and the thread of unity was just that everyone is seeking happiness. But when he felt that through his dream and the fullness of that experience of inner knowing, he said, "I realized that everybody is lovable." And it's from that consciousness, you know, honoring everyone else's reality, that true harmony comes. We look at this world, it's so easy to place the blame out there. You know, why are they at war? Why is there a civil war there? Why is that couple always arguing? You know, why is there always disharmony out there? Why don't I get along with my family better, my birth family, my biological family? Just all of this we think. And it all comes back to our own selves, our own being. Until we can fix that, until we can make that whole and create a wholeness of harmony there, I mean, that's where it starts. It looks like a nation at war. It looks like a nation, you know, at war with themselves or others. But it's all comes from the disharmony within the individual. The responsibility is at the level of the individual. It looks like it's at the government. It looks like it's in politics. It looks like it's the bad guys. But it's all at the level of the individual. And that's where we need to work it. Swamiji said when we sit to meditate, to spend a minute or so, and before we even begin, and send out blessings of harmony and light to the world, to all people, to those that we have a particular rift with at that time or disharmony with, and to really concentrate willfully and energetically and send out that vibration. Because he says, unless we do that, we can't even really meditate. Unless we have that attitude in our consciousness, we can't really meditate successfully. Sooner or later, we're going to come up against a tension born of disharmony on some level. Many years ago, when Anant and I were in Sacramento, there was a couple, and we never knew the husband. We knew the wife, we knew their 2 children who always came to Sunday school. Very sweet family. They weren't born and raised in America. They were from somewhere else. And we never really knew him in the time that she was coming. And then there was some kind of group, satsang, I don't remember what it was, and we did meet him at that event. And it was shortly after that that he called one day. And I was sitting there at my desk, and no one else was around that day. And he called, and I picked up the phone, and he started to yell at the top of his voice, really mad, very belligerent, about everything that was wrong with Ananda. And I knew from the onset that this was way over my head. This was way bigger than I was. There was going to be no discussion here at all. There was nothing I could possibly say. And he just kept going, and And he said things like, I'm going to shut you down, I'm going to close your doors, I'm going to destroy your organization, you people are terrible. And so, just a little bit into this, overwhelmed seemingly, I looked up, and there's Master in front of me, this picture, and of the last smile, not quite that big, but that was what was in front of my desk. And I looked up, and I had the phone here, and I just took it, and I went. And I just kept it there. And this person was yelling so loud. I had no trouble hearing. I didn't need to have it near my ear. And so this went on for quite a long time. And then it got, all of a sudden, very quiet. And I just very carefully, as if he could see me, but he couldn't. And I just very carefully brought it to my ear, and I couldn't hear anything. And I said, "Are you there?" And he said, "Yes." And I looked at Master, and I just said, "I'm really sorry that you're feeling this way. And I want to thank you for sharing these feelings. I'm going to hang up now, and God bless you." And then I hung up. And that was it. He didn't call right back. Never called back. I never heard from him again. I'd like to think that in some way, on some level, Yogananda touched him, and that's why he didn't call back. That's why there was sort of no more to that story. And we didn't see his wife and children sometime before that episode, and for many years after. There was a point, maybe a few years ago, before we left Sacramento, and she came by with her 2 children, and it was just as though we'd never missed a day of seeing each other. They were so happy to see and be with their Ananda family. But, so when we receive unharmonious action, when we receive some kind of violence on whatever level, to just remember to be in the vibration of the masters. Try to enter into, if you don't feel it already, the vibration of the masters and the saints, and try to be in their consciousness. That's what we do in meditation. That's what we need to try to do more and more of in activity, and to be in that vibration and hold that vibration. Sister Gyana Mata, her husband brought her she was Yogananda's foremost woman disciple, and her husband brought her near the end of his life, unbeknownst to anybody, brought her to Mount Washington. He said to Yogananda, "She's more at home here than anywhere else, and I won't be around in a few months. I've brought her here now to live." And just as an aside, Yogananda said to him, "You look perfectly healthy. What's wrong?" And he said, "Well, you'll see. It'll come to pass." And it did come to pass. He left, and Yanamata stayed there in the ashram. But Yogananda said to him at that time, he said, "Yes, she has always lived in this vibration," is what Yogananda said of Gyanamata. And Gyanamata said afterwards, she wrote in her letters afterwards, she said, "I came to understand that meant that ever since I first met him in Seattle, I always held him in my heart. I always tried to live in that vibration." And so when we enter into that consciousness, that's the consciousness of the last smile. That's the consciousness of Master's eyes, that they see and recognize, that we try and see and recognize the divine light in everyone, and to be a channel for those eyes, of kindness, to be a channel of those eyes for cooperation and upliftment, and to be a channel of those eyes for harmony and divine love.